I might lose my home. I bought this house in June of 2022 for about $440,000. Now, I knew I was overpaying. This house was worth about $300,000 2 years ago. But I had no choice because I sold my condo. And anyways, I sold my condo way over the average, not average, but way over the expected price. So whatever I overpaid on this house, I sort of received on selling my condo. But now what's bothering me is that I took a variable rate mortgage on this property. Now, of course, I know the risks with variable and fixed rate, but the reason I took variable rate is just because I like the idea of if anything happens and I want to sell the property, I can get out of it by only paying 3 months of interest. Fixed rate, usually the calculation is a little bit more complicated. In some situations, fixed rate, the penalty on fixed rate is sometimes better, but only if the rates go up. And of course, I knew rates would go up, but you never know. Anything could happen. Something big could happen in the economy, and for some reason, rates continue to drop. Who knows? So I took variable rate just so that in case I need to sell the house, then the penalty would be much less. So I took my rate. My variable rate was it was prime minus 0.9, so it was about 1.8% when I took it for 5 years. And now my rate has gone up to 4.7. So I put a 20% down payment to avoid the insurance premium, the CMHC, I think, insurance premium. And that gave me a payment of $14.65 per month. So that's not bad, I can afford. Now, the problem is obviously with variable rate, the interest rate changes. Now, luckily with Desjardins, my monthly payment will never change throughout the term. But the allocation will change, of course. Now, if the interest rate is 4.7, but I'm only paying 14.65, let's see what happens. At 4.7, my payment should be 19.87, so it would go up almost $500. But the important thing here to look at is the allocation. The allocation of my 14.66 monthly payment. How much of it goes to capital? How much of it goes to interest? So if the interest rate stays at 1.8, I was paying about $540 in interest every month and $924 of capital every month. So my mortgage balance goes down every month by about $900. That's if the interest rate stays at 1.8% or 1.85%, and that's on my 14.65 payment per month. Now, with interest rate at 4.7, and that's right now, it might even go up higher. I don't know. So if it stays at 4.7, I'm expected to make a 1987 payment, but because I'm with Desjardins, my monthly payment of 1466 will not change. But look at the interest that I'm expected to pay. I'm expected to pay 1365 right now in interest. Now, my monthly payment will not go up of 1466, but my interest or the allocation of my payment will change. Right now at 4.7, my interest is 1366. So that means out of my 1466 payment, only $100 is going towards capital and the rest is all interest. So I'm paying $1366 a month in interest. That's money that's gone. And then only $100 is actually being used to bring down my balance, my mortgage balance. And that, once again, is if the rate stays at 4.7. Now, if the Bank of Canada continues to increase interest rates, and honestly, I thought they were working to help Canadians, but I really don't believe that anymore. It doesn't look like it. Honestly, it does feel like they're trying to wipe out the middle class, because this is exactly what's going to happen. People bought at a high price. Initially they can afford the mortgage, but if someone picked a variable rate mortgage, their mortgage payment is going to go up. They won't be at some point they won't be able to afford their mortgage payment. They're going to have to sell the property. Now, because they're desperate to sell the property and the interest rates are higher, there's less people can afford or can get approved for a mortgage, so that they're going to have to sell their property for way less. So they're going to lose the down payment that they paid when they purchased the house. So, for example, I looked at a property in my area right now. It's sold for $350. So already my property is $90,000. Is worth less by $90,000. So if I wanted to sell my property right now, I basically lost my down payment. Right now, policy interest rate is at 3.25. Some people say it might go to 4. They might stop at 4. So that's another 0.75, another 75 basis points. So that would put my mortgage at around 4.7 plus 0.75 is what, let's say 5.5. So calculate. So that would put the principal or the interest payment would be $15.95. So the interest payment in this case would be more than my current payment of $14.66. The interest payment would be $15.95, but my mortgage payment is $14.66. So $15.95 minus $14.66. So that means my current payment doesn't even cover the interest portion of my mortgage. So what's going to happen is, I don't think the bank will require me to increase my payment, but my mortgage balance, instead of going down, usually you pay a mortgage every month, so your mortgage balance goes down. My mortgage balance, instead of going down, is going to keep going up by about $160, whatever I just said here, $130. And that, once again, is if they increase it just one more time. What if they keep increasing it? What if it goes to 5 or 6%? I don't know how many times they're going to keep increasing it. I don't know when they're going to stop either. If they go to 6-7%, potentially I won't be able to make payments. Luckily, I don't have to increase my payments, but it doesn't make sense to keep something where your payments are being wasted. They have no impact. You're only paying interest. And not only that, but your mortgage balance is going up on you. So you're going to end up with a property that is worth much less than the mortgage balance on that property. That doesn't look good. So what are my choices now? Now, I don't plan on selling because if I sell, I'm losing $90,000 right off the bat. So my goal is to keep it, of course, to keep the property. Now, one option is to do nothing. That's always an option, right? To do nothing. With this bank, they will not increase my payment every month. So for the next 5 years, I know my payment won't change. So that's fine. I can afford it. But I could be hit at the end of 5 years with a big surprise, a mortgage balance that is higher than what I started with. Now, let's say best case scenario is Bank of Canada. Best case scenario, Bank of Canada increases rates one more time. Let's say brings the policy interest rate to 4%. So that's an extra 0.75. So brings my variable interest rate at 5.5. My payment won't change, but the allocation will change. And as we saw, interest will be about $1,600. I'm only paying $1,460. So that's about $140 extra every month in mortgage. So if my balance starting off was about $352,000, I'm paying an extra $140 or $130, let's say $130 every month, right? Times 60 months. So at the end of 5 years, my mortgage balance will have gone up by $8,000 at the end of 5 years, which is not bad. It's kind of annoying because the opposite is supposed to happen, right? Instead of going up, it's supposed to go down. It's not supposed to be the same balance. It's supposed to drop. Initially, if we look at if I had kept the same rate, now I knew I wasn't going to keep the same rate for 5 years, that I know, but just to see the difference, if I were to keep the same rate, my balance at the end of 5 years would be around $293,000. So instead of dropping my balance by about $60,000, I'm actually bringing my balance up by about $8,000. So it's a $68,000 difference. This increased interest rate is costing me a difference of almost $68,000. Now, so that's best case scenario is I'm left with 5.5 here, and yeah. Now, of course, I could make extra payments. I could, let's say I pay an extra $500 a month. So instead of paying $1,460, I pay $2,000 a month. And if I do that, while holding the variable rate, and the interest rate is still and the interest portion is still about $1,600 a month, then an extra $400 a month will go to capital about. Now it varies a bit as you're making a payment. Let me see if I choose a different type of mortgage, closed fixed rate, closed protected variable rate. Closed protected variable rate 5.5, calculate, gives me 2161. What if I choose closed fixed rate 5 years and I choose 5.5, calculate, close 2148. That's interesting. Same interest rate, but just a different kind of mortgage. I get a different payment. That's weird. Closed protected variable rate 5.5, calculate, 2161. Interesting. Let's look at the allocation. First month is about 1613 interest. And let's say if I go to closed fixed rate 5 years, change it to 5.5, calculate, calculate 2148, and that's weird. Interest allocation is a bit different between variable and fixed. Okay, I can't explain why. Probably something to do with amortization and the fact that maybe the variable rate, the interest is calculated on the remaining balance, the daily balance, but the fixed rate, maybe it's calculated differently. So probably has something to do with timing and the balance of the debt every day. Regardless, for this example, I'm gonna take close protected variable rate 5.5, calculate. So we saw that interest rate is about 1600, but it drops as we get closer to 5 years. So 60 months is 5 years. By the end of the 5 years, the interest portion will be about 1443. So you can say that actually let's see how much of it is going to principal. So to see how much of it is going to principal, yeah, but I wouldn't be paying this amount. I'm only paying about 2,000. So I'm looking at the example of interest. Variable rate goes up to 5.5 and my mortgage payment doesn't change, but I add an extra $400 or $500 so that I pay $2,000 a month, but my interest portion of this 2,000 becomes around, let's say 1,600 for the remainder of the 5 years. So an extra $400 per month for 5 years will go into capital. So that's 400 times 60, so about 24,000. So my mortgage would drop by about 24,000 instead of dropping by 60,000. But that's the risk with taking variable rate. So that would be another option, is just to stick with the same mortgage and pay an extra $500 a month. But this is hoping that the interest rate only goes up once. But what if it goes up more than once? What if it goes up again? What if it goes up another 0.75? What if it goes up another 75 basis points? So what? Let's say 6.25 now. So that would make my payment will still remain the same. If I keep paying the same thing, then my mortgage will just keep increasing. But if I want to pay $2,000, let's say, because I think I can afford $2,000, but anything more than that, then it becomes a little bit too much. So if I pay $2,000, then I'm only paying about $200 towards my capital. So that's what, 200 times 60. 200 times 60, that's $12,000. So I'd be reducing my mortgage after 5 years by only $12,000, and that's paying an extra $500 a month right now. I'm paying about $1,800 a month in interest, and that's if it goes up 150 basis points again. So the question boils down to how many times are they going to keep increasing? Now, do they say anything? I've read articles that said that they most likely are going to increase again. Now they're trying to fight inflation. What caused inflation, right? If we think about it, what caused inflation? Is it the printing of money? Is it the supply chain issues? So what caused the printing of money? What caused the supply chain issues? The lockdowns. What caused the lockdowns? COVID. Was it really necessary, all these lockdowns? Was COVID really that dangerous that it deserved all these lockdowns, which led to supply chain issues, which led to money printing, which led to prices going up, which led to now, because we're trying to fight inflation, now we have to bring interest rates up. And now interest rates going up, middle class might get wiped out. People can't afford their homes. And obviously their grocery bill alone is going up, their gas bill is going up. So if someone's living paycheck to paycheck, all of a sudden they have to come up with an extra $1,000 a month just to pay their expenses. Where are they going to get that extra $1,000? So the last increase was September 7, policy interest rate by 75 basis points. Do they mention if they think of increasing again? See, given the outlook for inflation, the governing council still judges that the policy interest rate will need to rise further. So this is in addition to what they've already increased. Quantitative tightening is complementing increases in the policy rate. As the effects of tighter monetary policy work through the economy, we will be assessing how much higher interest rates need to go to return inflation to target, which who caused? The governing council remains resolute in its commitment to price stability, and will continue to take action as required to achieve the 2% inflation target. So it looks like they will increase. They'll keep increasing because they have to. They're doing it for the greater good. Now, I do have a few options. So like one of the options I just mentioned is do nothing and just deal with it, and whatever happens happens. That's one option. A second option would be to lock my rate, so to get a fixed rate right now. Now, when I took my 1.85 variable rate, at the moment I was offered 2.89 fixed, 5 years fixed, and I didn't take it. And I didn't take it because I wanted the flexibility of closing the mortgage early. Now, obviously, it's the biggest mistake ever. And now, if I take a fixed rate, I was offered 4.74 now. So if I take a fixed rate, 4.74, my monthly payment, it was 5-year fixed. My monthly payment would be about, let's calculate again, about $2,000. But it's fixed now, so no surprises for the next 5 years. I know that I'm going to be paying $2,000 regardless what happens. Out of that $2,000, $1,300 is interest, about $600 is capital. And then by the end of the 5 years, my mortgage balance will be about $310. So I would have paid down about $40,000, starting from $352,000. But I'm paying $2,000 a month. Now the other option, so this is one option. Another option is I could add an extra $60,000 to my mortgage. So basically, I would be taking my emergency fund and paying down my mortgage by about $60,000. Basically, I have to put 35% down in order to get a better interest rate. So 35% of 440 would be times 440, 154,000. So I already put 88,000. So I'd have to put an extra 66,000. So 154, let's put it in this example, 154,000. And I would be able to drop my rate to 4.49. Calculate. So that would give me a monthly payment of $1,581. Right now I'm paying $1,466, but it's mostly going to interest. And if they keep increasing interest rate, it's gonna all go to interest rate. It's all gonna go to interest, and my mortgage balance is gonna keep going up. Right now, if I put the remaining 15% down payment, so an extra $66,000 in my down payment, and lock it for 5 years fixed, my monthly payment will be slightly higher, so about $100 higher. Now let's look at the amortization. How much is capital and how much is interest? $1,000 will be interest per month, and about $500 will go to capital. But my starting mortgage balance will be $285 instead of $352, but that's because I put extra cash. But after 5 years, my balance will be $251,000. So I would have brought down my mortgage balance from $285 to how much? To $251. That's not good. That's only $35,000. Yeah, that doesn't look too good. I guess when your mortgage balance isn't that high, the capital portion of your payment isn't as high as well. Let's see what happens when we scroll down. Actually, it gets closer and closer. Interest 700, yeah, and then it becomes almost 1-for-1, right? 700 interest, 800 capital, and then towards the end, of course, it's mostly capital. Yeah, so that's gonna hurt as well because I'm paying a lot of interest out of my monthly payment. A lot of it is interest. Now, just out of curiosity, if I had taken that $289 to begin with on my initial down payment of $88,000, I would have been paying $1,646. And let's see how much of it is. Yeah, $800 of interest, $800 of capital. Yeah, that's much better, of course. So that's almost 1-for-1. So half of your payment goes to capital, half of the payment goes to interest. Right now with 4.49 and a down payment of 154,000, $1,000 goes to, so an extra $200 a month goes to interest, and obviously a little bit less goes to capital. Just curious to see what the allocation is if I only put 88,000. It's a 13. Yeah, it's much worse. Yeah, forget that. Terrible. It's almost the double of the capital goes into interest. So 600 capital, and then the double goes into interest. Yeah, that's not cool. So yeah, that's another option, is to add more towards my property and get a lower interest rate to fix for the next 5 years, a decent monthly payment, and then a better a better allocation of my payment in terms of interest and capital. Another option is to keep my down payment as is, but then I would take a higher interest rate of 4.74 and then pay $2,000. I'm not sure I like that option too much. Although it would allow me to keep the $66,000 in cash as an emergency fund. But I feel if I put it down here and I still have my job, and I feel I can save it quickly again. So let's say I'm able to save $1,000 a month, or even the difference between both mortgage payments, which would be $400, right? If I'm able to save $400 a month times 60, that's 24,000 in 5 years. But let's say, generally speaking, I'm able to save 1,000 times 60. So yeah, that's 60,000. So in like 5 years, I could get that money back, get that emergency fund back. I still have my Questrade on my stock portfolio, which isn't doing great, but I mean that's still available. I don't want to sell everything because I'd be realizing a lot of losses. I don't want to sell everything and put it in the mortgage either, because I would rather I would rather try to invest and trade with that money. So I'm thinking of trying out Nesto. Let me know what you think. Their mortgage rates are pretty good. I do want to hear your opinion in the comments below. Let me know what you think. If you've ever lived a situation like this, what would you do in this scenario? Now, the mistake is already done. I had the chance to take fixed. I should have taken fixed at the beginning, but it's too late now. Now I'm in this situation. What do I do now? So these are the rates right now. 5-year fix is 4.59, 4.20 for the variable rate. It's actually not bad. And notice how close they are close to each other. In this situation, no one's going to take the 5-year variable when the fix is only 30 points higher or 40 points higher. So this doesn't happen often where the fixed is very close to the variable rate. But prime minus 1.25 is pretty good. But as you can see, there's an asterisk here, and you read at the bottom here, it says insured loans. So this rate is for mortgages that have the CMHC insurance premium. So that means for mortgages that have less than 20% down. So if you put 5% down payment, you would get a better interest rate because you took the insurance premium that covers you that covers the bank if you can't make your payments. So you have to pay an insurance to protect the bank. It's not even the bank that protects itself. You're protecting the bank by paying an insurance. That's if you put less than 20%. I put 20% to avoid paying that insurance, but the interest rate is going to be higher. So I think right now, to get the correct rate, I think we have to put in the obviously they always market the best rate, which is the insured rate. But if you want to get the true rate, the uninsured rate will be not much higher, but I think it's around 4.89 the last time I checked. Now, I used to always think that it's good to have debt if you use it correctly, but now after living this stress, honestly, I don't want to have any kind of debt. Now, normally I would say, it's better to not put the extra 66,000 as a down payment and invest it. But you can't even invest it. What can I put it in right now that would make more than 4 or 5% per year? Anything you buy, all the quality stocks, they're also dropping. Even the S&P 500 is dropping. So you can't even beat 5% right now with the market that's dropping. So buying your stress, as Dave Ramsey says, right now I totally agree with this mindset. Debt is the worst. Even if it helps you leverage into a property, and heck, if I didn't use debt, I would not have made the profit I made on my condo. But honestly, it's not worth the stress anymore. If I can be mortgage free, I would prefer to do that than to have a more money to invest with. Because anyways, if I'm mortgage free, that I won't have a mortgage to pay every month, so I could save that money quickly. It's not as fast as starting off with it, but anyways, if I don't even have alternatives to invest that money and it's just sitting in the bank, might as well just use it to pay down a mortgage that's causing me stress. And yes, I should have taken fixed to begin with, But let's say I did take fixed, and let's say after 5 years, I've been good for 5 years. The rates are still super high. Let's say they're at 7%. Well, I'm still gonna have the problem again, because now I'm definitely gonna take fixed again, but now I'm gonna have to take it at 7%, and then my payment's gonna be 2,000, and obviously my mortgage balance will be lower. My payment will still be high, but then let's look at the allocation. The allocation is terrible. You're paying so much interest out of your payment and very little capital. So yeah, I think my goal is to pay off that mortgage as soon as possible, because I'm done with banks. Or maybe done of being at the mercy of government decisions, basically, because that's what's happening right now. And I saw a video, I wish I could find it, but they basically said, someone from the Bank of Canada said, yeah, they acknowledge that some people will lose their homes, but they're saying that's the price that we have to pay so that we can get rid of inflation. It's basically the price for the greater good. Yes, some people will lose their homes, but at least we're fixing the economy in the long run. That was their answer. So yeah, that's not comforting at all. I don't see how increasing the interest rate will make vegetable oil cheaper. Vegetable oil right now at Costco, it used to be like $6-7. Now it's $19. Now, if you increase interest rates, how will that bring that price down? If this is supply chain issue, if you want to fix supply chain issue, remove all the COVID restrictions, because that's what caused the supply chain issue to begin with. Interest rates are only bringing home prices down, but they're not bringing grocery items down. Supply chain issues is what's bringing grocery items up. All right, thanks for listening to me complain. If you have any comments, suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.